Okay, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
See you this morning. And we have, Jerry's not going to be here today. He had to work. And Bill, I haven't heard from, so I think he's either still in Iowa or on his way back. He drove up this last time, I think. His mother was in the hospital and had driven up there because he was showing all the stuff he got from the hobby shop up there that he was going to be able to bring back because he'd driven up instead of flying. So he may be on the road back home or something. I don't know. Haven't heard from him this morning, so I don't know. But Bill, if you're listening, hope everything's okay, and give us a shout when you get back home. So anyway, it's just the three of us, I guess, this morning. Now Shannon might pop in. I sent him the link, but I haven't heard from him yet either. So, but we don't have a guest this morning. We're just going to fly by the seat of our pants like we normally do. And
are you supposed to wear pants?
Do what?
Are you supposed to wear pants?
That's what I forgot. And make sure I don't get up. Anyway, Steve's got his locomotive almost completely finished.
Pretty much, yeah. It's
and it's gorgeous.
Absolutely
gorgeous.
Thank you.
It is. It's beautiful. And then I've got a bunch of stuff done on mine. I'll be doing an update. I'll need to do an update here pretty quick. Or we might could do a beans tomorrow. Are you going to be home tomorrow, Dennis?
Yeah, I'm home tomorrow.
We could do a beans in the morning if you like.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to do that.
Anything, unless the wife's got something planned for me she hasn't let me in on yet. As far as I know, I've got going on.
That's normal though, isn't it?
Well, sometimes
they don't let you know until they want you to do it.
Right. Oh, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we may have to do that. We'll talk about it after the show. But anyway, yeah, I've been getting some stuff done on my layout here in the last few days, and I know Dennis has been doing some stuff on his. So, Dennis? Why don't you show us what you've been?
Okay. Let me untether and turn my camera around here.
Well, while you're doing that, let's say good morning to everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we got Johns. We got a couple Johns. John Grandpa Rails. Good morning, Schuylkill River Valley John. We got Allie. Good morning, Allison. We got Uncle Wilmer. We got, I think it's Dave, DES Media, Rob T-Man. We got my buddy Bernard. Let's see. I know there was somebody else. Did I say Rob?
Joe Rader's here.
Joe Rader.
Oh, Gail's here. Oh, she said no plans, babe. You're good.
I guess we're on then.
Uh-oh.
Good morning, Gail.
Good morning, Gail. How's everybody doing? Good.
Oh, by the way, Gail, my wife, she thought that was as funny as I thought she would think it was when you got on him last time. She got a good laugh out of that.
Oh man,
Dennis disappeared.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just behind the camera, so I can kind of
stick with him.
What I've got going on here, which I can't recall how much you guys have seen from the videos to this point, but where I'm at right now is just trying to get this town location here, which this is modeled after the town of Basalt, Colorado, and I still haven't decided on what I'm going to call it. It's actually a mirror image of the town. My layout worked out to where I had to flip everything 180 degrees. So I'm real close to getting this nailed into where exactly it needs to be. I've got where I'm pretty sure the spline's all going to go. And what I've been doing in my little travel trailer is I've been building turnouts and these turnouts are 60 by 30. I went ahead and tried a Blue Ridge jig. If you've seen their advertisements they make, it's a composite material. I really don't know what it's made out of, like a really hard.
Steve's got one.
Do what?
Steve's got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it works. I will probably do a review somewhat of that fixture in an upcoming video. I don't want to get too deep into it now. There's things I like about it and things that I don't. I would definitely say they're not near as good as Fast Tracks.
No, I wish I had spent the extra money for Fast Tracks.
I think they're going to work, but there's definitely some frustrations with them. And then I have also, I had some questions that, maybe after I'm finished here, but I was going to maybe ask Claude about. I've got a couple of three-ways built. And this was an adventure because I couldn't find any instructions whatsoever on Fast Track's site for a narrow gauge. All of the pictures, all the instructions are based on a standard gauge.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of left hanging on some things, especially the tie spacing. And I have no idea where I'm actually supposed to cut the rails for the joiners to have the fixed point points.
Okay. Yeah, I can take a picture of mine and you can see there. I just cut them in the same place they show on the HO instructions, because I use the HO instructions when I did mine. But you're right, it's so much smaller than the HO. Things get a little tight on it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm struggling with, where I believe I need to cut and install those hinges. It looks to me like there's no room to actually put in what I need to put in.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very, very tight together. Why they didn't do a narrow gauge instruction book for that, at least for some parts of it that are much tougher to do than the HO scale, would be easy to build.
Yeah, provide some photographs because the tie spacing is different, and where another thing that I'm confused, there's two in the jig, long ties that are right close to each other. I'm presuming one is an anchor point for the hinge for the first set of points, and then the other one is the throw bar for the next hinged points. But again, I because if you look at the standard gauge, that configuration is completely different.
Yeah.
And so it's just which one of those two long ties is the throw bar and which is not.
Yeah. Getting a little distortion on your mic again.
Yeah.
Dennis, do you hear it, Steve?
Yeah.
I don't know why it started doing that, but
Well, it started after he started switching cameras.
Yeah, maybe if I talk quieter.
that's just a general distortion, isn't it? Talking into the mic.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you've got a crappy mic and you're right into it, it's going to distort.
Well, Bernard says you sound like you're talking underwater.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but anyway. Yeah, I can show you what I did on mine. But it was different. And I just sat there until I figured out what I had to do. But there's one of the guardrails, I think it's a guardrail, that's real tight clearance.
Yeah.
And I just fiddled with it until I got it to where it would work and do what it's supposed to do. But it was, there was some cussing and throwing tools and stuff trying to figure it out. That's for sure.
That particular guardrail I've made no attempt to put in yet because I know that it's going to be a bear.
Well, right after the show, I'll take the camera up and show you what I did on mine. Oh, Jason's here, and so is Mark.
Yeah, good morning, Mark.
From the
Jason.
CB&Q. Good
Yeah,
to see
we
you
had
guys.
Dwight Curley popped in. We got Eric at Watch Trains Now popped in. Good morning, guys.
Oh, Dwight's here too. Hey, Dwight. But yeah, it's doable, Dennis. I know because I've got 2 of them on the layout installed. But it is, yeah, it's an adventure trying to figure it out. When you're looking at the standard gauge, it's pretty straightforward. And then you start shrinking that down and it gets a little tight.
We got truck driver Roy in this morning too. Good morning.
Hey, Roy.
Where you at now, Roy?
But yeah, I'll take that up there and show it to you. And,
oh crap, Shannon's in chat.
Well, hello, Shannon.
We got Shannon and Roy in chat. Oh boy. Fred White popped in. Good morning, Fred.
Hey, Shannon, I apologize. I forgot to send you the link last week, but I think I sent it to you today.
Wilmer had a question for me.
Wilmer had a question.
Yeah, he wanted to know if I'm building structures yet. And the answer is no, not yet. I think in next week's video, I go over what structures I have online to build. And I'm telling you, I'm chomping at the bit to build structures and get back to work on scenery. I think it's been a year now, give or take, since I've done anything artistic. And so, my goal was before the end of this year to start constructing some buildings for what I'm calling Silver Gulch. And I still have that goal. I don't know if I'll make it or not, but I do plan on just as soon as I can start working on some structures, at least some mock-ups. If I do nothing else, I will probably have some mock-ups when I get ready to get serious about the track work.
Looks like you spend as much time on your mock-ups as you build the whole model.
Well, I'm not going to say that. The mock-ups are easy if you already have all the pieces in place. And kind of my plan maybe for the next group of mock-ups I build, I may just throw them on the printer and print and then cut and just use paper. I haven't decided yet exactly.
Mark says everything you do is artistic, Dennis. And Steve and I were talking about that before you came on this morning, before you got in here this morning, about how meticulous you are.
Yeah.
With stuff. And I told him, I said, we were talking about your article in the magazine. And I told him, I said, you take your detail work. I mean, I like doing it, but I don't go nearly as far or as meticulous as you do. But yours looks absolutely real. Especially in the black and white photos you have on the first of your deal. That makes it look really, really good.
Yeah.
I aspire to that, but I don't plan to ever get that.
Well, I've seen your layout, Claude, and you're no slouch. Your stuff looks
it's good enough for me.
As good as mine.
Yeah, it's good enough for me, and that's all I'm worried about. So I built my airplanes the same way. If they were good enough for me, I didn't care what anybody else thought.
Yeah, and that's true. I think for all of it, absolutely.
Well, I wasn't ever doing, a lot of guys do contest grade stuff and stuff, and I'm never going to build something for a narrow gauge convention or something like that to enter in a contest. I have no aspirations of wanting to do that. I love going and seeing that kind of stuff and seeing what those guys can do, because there are some fabulous modelers out there. And that's what really got me interested as a kid in trains or anything in miniature and model building in general, was seeing all that stuff shrunk down and looking real.
Yeah, there's something about a miniature world that you can see from a 30,000 foot view that is just cool.
Yeah. It just really made it for me as a kid, and it's still fun to look at, you know, and that's what I like about watching videos online of everybody's layouts and stuff. It's just seeing what they're doing and how they make it look real.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Fred. Artists are the worst critics of themselves. Yeah, I was that way when I worked too, and when I was working. So, you know, I'd come out from doing a job, I'd finish a job, and I'm thinking, oh, that could be a whole lot better. And then the customer would come in and they'd say, "Oh, this is fantastic! I love it!" Blah blah blah. I'm thinking,
well, that's because
okay.
you know where all the defects are.
Yeah,
Nobody else can see them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I see them every time I walk in. Say if it's in my house, I see it every time I walk in.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's why I hate sheetrock work.
Well, you know, the thing I found out about sheetrock work was don't try to be perfect with it.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop trying to be perfect with it, it starts looking a lot better.
Yeah.
Most people, this is just a general tip for sheetrock work. If you've never done it before, most people overwork it. They try to smooth it from the very get-go, and you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take at least 3 coats to get it right. And you stop at some point of trying to get it to be smooth. I've seen very few guys that can wipe it on say the 3rd coat and not have to go and sand some afterwards. There are some out there that can do it, but that's all they do is sheetrock work. But most people try to do too much with the knife, and it dries out, and then it gets harder and harder and harder to get it to do what you want it to do. So you get it on there, you get a decent coat on it, and you leave it. I mean, there's a couple of tricks you can do to knock most of that off before you know, so you don't have to sand a whole bunch. But most people, like I say, just try to do too much.
And shoot the texture usually covers a lot the problem anyway.
Oh yeah, if you're shooting texture, that's why they invented texture.
Yeah,
was to cover up that sheetrock work.
Absolutely.
You know,
guilty as charged.
Yeah.
The problem with
I intentionally asked for them not to texture mine because I knew I was going to be painting backdrops on it.
yeah.
So,
Well, see, and the other problem with texture, orange peel texture is very common. I think it's even, got it on this wall. And it's a good look, but if you have a blemish on the wall and you've got to put more mud on there, it's very, very, very tough to get it to look like it originally did.
Yeah, it's hard to match.
Well, it's because you're filling in all of the low spots in that texture. Mm-hmm. So what that does is it ends up building it up even higher. So you end up with a bulge or a lump or something like that. I mean, you can get it to look back like it did, but it takes a lot of sanding around where the patch is and then trying to spray it back and get it to look right. Can be tough.
Bernard says fire tape and spray it hides imperfections.
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know. I seldom know what Bernard's talking about. But anyway, yeah, we kind of get off track there.
I'm with Wilmer. He said he'd rather go to the dentist and get teeth pulled into sheetrock.
Well, I guess it's because I've done enough of it now. It doesn't bother me. Of course, I'm retired now, so I don't do very much of it at all, that kind of stuff at all anymore. But I did enough over the years because I did a lot of patchwork. Was the main thing I did. I didn't do, full rooms and stuff. I did patchwork stuff.
Well, Rob says hang a bigger picture, and I'm guilty of doing that.
Yeah. It's just a matter of getting used to do it. It's like anything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And eventually I got the hang of what I was doing. I'm still not as good as most guys that do it all the time. But, for what I was doing, it was usually plenty good. Anyway.
I like Steve's suggestion. You set your expectations low.
Yeah. And then you
can get up from there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay.
More coffee.
So, my screen just went away. Come back to your screen. There we go. That was weird. My whole screen just jumped off the whole page just jumped off here. So what's everybody doing anyway? Somebody give us something to talk about over here.
No, we're talking sheetrock.
Oh, Anderson wants to talk about plaster. No, we're not going to talk about plaster.
Mm-mm.
And had too many jobs when I was plumbing that I had to cut into plaster walls, and that's not fun.
Shannon wants to know why everybody gives the dentist a hard time.
He says he means their second job is hairdressing. Yeah, yours might be. That's
I
why
would
your
say
hair
yours
looks like
should
it
be.
does. Yeah, his dentist is the hairdresser because that's why his hair looks like it does. Isn't that right, Roy?
We had a guy up at Train Mountain a couple days ago. He was out in the back. I was telling Claude, he was in the back shop working, and he opened the door, and there was a cougar right there. I mean, they were like 2 feet from each other. Big 500-pound cougar, right? He said, "Oh crap!" Closed the door. It's like, I don't think I'll be camping at 6 acres anymore. I'm thinking about cougars all the time.
Okay, Mark's got a question. Dennis, can you talk about LCC and advantages to all that work you did?
Well, yeah, I can a little bit. I'll start with saying that the primary reason that I went with LCC is because anytime I run trains in congested track where I've got lots of turnouts, inevitably I will have a turnout thrown the wrong way, and I will get a derailment. And you know, with an N-scale locomotive with 6-axle trucks, it's pretty easy to re-rail them. With these K27s, and you've got that front pilot truck and the rear trailing truck, getting them put back on sometimes is enough to make you have to walk away. So yep. I actively looked for a way that I could push as few buttons as possible. And so back here, literally for both ends of my yard, I have route buttons. So if I want to go through Route 1, which in some cases can throw as many as 5 or 6 turnouts at one time, I push one button. And that was the advantage to me is it takes all of the, okay, is that one aligned? Is that one aligned? Okay, this one needs to go that way. And then you're literally pushing maybe 5 buttons or toggle switches to get your train to where you go where you want. And then you find out that, oops, I had that one thrown the wrong way and I've got a derailment. So with LCC, now on the front end of that, there's some thought that has to go into how you get it done in the CDI. But once you get past that, you know, one button, that's what if I want Route 1 button, and I don't have to be concerned, and I've got enough confidence now that I don't have to look at my turnouts to know that everything's aligned. So that was the primary reason why I did it. And so far, everything has worked exactly the way I want it to. I've got one little hiccup with my Yard Track 6. I know what the issue is. I'm just choosing not to mess with it right now because I'm not using it and I've got bench work to do. But other than that, everything is working great. And that's why I did it, and that's the advantage to me. Now, as I move forward, and if I do block detection everywhere, you know, another example of the advantage, let me see if I can, this turnout here is set to where anything that enters my ladder, whether it's the top turnout or the bottom turnout here, the second, because that's all one detected block. Anything enters that block this turnout throws to allow traffic to exit from the ladder. And then there's a 15-second delay when this is no longer occupied. You know, something gets on that side of it. There's a 15-second delay, and then this automatically throws back the other direction. So all of my traffic goes counterclockwise around the loop. So that's the advantage of block detection. And there's other things you can do with block detection that with LCC, and there's probably other, you know, you can do it with Arduino. There's more than one way to skin that cat, but I just decided, you know, that's what I was going to go with. So I hope that helps.
Mark says, thanks. What was the cost ballpark on a per turnout basis, both in time and dollars?
Oh gosh, you know, that's absolutely nothing I tracked. I can tell you that a 16 input output LCC board, the LCC tower, is $50, and that gets you 16 input and outputs. I've got 2 of those here in my yard. Actually, I think I have a third, but I don't think I ended up using all of my input outputs for it, or they were used for something other than the actual turnout.
And so Steve Anderson says, so what Dennis is saying, he's not a good conductor, but a good engineer.
That's probably accurate.
And Bernard wanted to know if the washers were for burnishing your rails.
Yes, sir. That's another video eventually I plan on doing. I just haven't made the decision to do it. I plan on doing like an experiment with some scrap track where I show what track looks like before you burnish it, after you burnish it, and my whole take on how you clean your track and what you can do to keep your railroad running smoothly. Because everybody's got an opinion, and I'm not saying mine's better than anyone else's, but my time saver, I burnished every bit of that rail, and it requires very little cleaning whatsoever.
Well, and it's, as far as the LCC or Arduino or anything else that you do, it's about what you want in the end. And yeah, I can't say that cost is not an obstacle in some things. But I know when I was doing airplanes or even the trains, you know, if it's something I wanted to do, it's not as big a hurdle to me as it would be to somebody that's not interested in doing something like that. See, I wouldn't do LCC just because I don't like doing wiring well enough to do that.
Yeah.
Steve and I were talking about that too, when you had your table turned upside down and working on the wiring, and it's all nice and neat. And I said, yeah, that looks great. But one thing it does do is it takes twice as much wire to run everything like that as it does to run straight to things. It is nice and neat, but like I was telling him on mine, I can track pretty much everything under my layout, even though it looks like a rat's nest, because I know how I ran it.
Right.
I know I've got it grouped so I can find stuff fairly easily. Doesn't mean I haven't had a couple of problems finding some shorts, but usually it's gaps on turnouts or on PC ties. I had that yesterday when I was putting a track down in this new area, and I had short on it. Well, I had a short on the main line that I hadn't even been using, but I haven't had the thing turned on in so long that I had added some track coming over to where I'm at now that I didn't get a gap in one of the PC ties, but I'd already painted it and everything else and didn't realize I didn't have the gap in there, but I'd never turned it on to find a short to see if it had shorted or not, because I wasn't using it yet. So I had to go back and find that yesterday, but it didn't take long to find it. I knew it had to be right there somewhere because before that it hadn't shorted. So I knew that's where the short was, but yeah, you got to go check all that stuff. But anyway, yeah, the wiring part, if that's what you want it to be, yeah, it's great. It's not a hurdle for you or for whoever's doing it. I mean, this isn't a me and you thing. It's a per person
Yeah,
thing,
absolutely.
what you want.
Like I said, there's always there's multiple ways to skin that cat. And you know what, as I build this railroad, another thing that I'm trying to accomplish, just thinking, 10, 20 years into the future, eventually I'm going to die. And somebody's going to get all of this stuff. Hopefully someone in my family will get some money out of it. I have no idea how much, but if I build this in such a way that you can literally walk out the door with a usable staging yard, with a usable town of Silver Gulch and a usable town of Roaring Fork or whatever it is, and all you have to do is pull the plywood off and unscrew 2 terminals at each end, and all the wiring is still in place. All of the feeder drops is still in place. That's another reason why I did it that way. Because, think about the advantage of walking in. Do I want to inherit this mess just to pull the track off and all? It would be a bigger selling point to go, wow, that's usable just as it is right now, just by cutting some of the scenery away. And that plywood, you'll be able to crawl on your back underneath my layout and go, I understand this, even though you weren't the one that built it. So that's another reason why I've done things the way I've done them.
That makes sense, actually.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And one of the when I originally started doing this, it was about the same time I started watching Dawn on the Nearly Historical Railroad. They purchased, I think that railroad, except for maybe two railroads.
2 railroads put them together.
Thought, wow, I don't know how much they gave for it. I don't think he ever divulges that.
No.
But that's a huge railroad. And that's got me to thinking, I wonder if the guy did he plan for somebody to tear that down and put in a different building? I think I'm going to plan it that way. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm planning for my daughters or stepchildren or somebody, to be able to sell off this and reap the benefits of what I did, 10 years ago, hopefully, or 15 or 20, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes perfect sense to do it that way. I just told my son, I said, okay, when I'm gone, your job. Because I won't be here. I won't care.
You're not gonna have to worry about it.
Yeah. Let's see, wait a minute. Oh, I saw something on here. Here we go. Okay. Oh, Nathan DeLay's here. Hello, Nathan. Steve Anderson says, it's unfortunate that within this hobby that things are not easier to do. This is an example why could switches have built-in machines and feedback like Kato or easy drop detectors. Yeah. Well, the main reason they don't is cost-wise. The average person would never buy one. Right. They probably wouldn't get into trains if everything was done with everything built into it. There's at some point there's no reason to have it. Or it's going to be cost prohibitive.
It's going to look prototypical. That's the other thing, because doesn't Atlas make some turnouts that's got snap points that are built into it? They don't look like the real thing. That's why I would buy one of those.
Yeah. Well, he answers the question. That's kind of what I'm saying. That it's a hobby, and that's part of the hobby is doing that kind of stuff. And some people want ground growth. Some people want tortoises. Some people want some other kind of throw on it. And if you build it in, like I say, it's going to get cost prohibitive for most people. It's already expensive enough as it is without having stuff like that that's not really necessary. And the people that want to do it, like you're doing, can do it that way.
Yeah.
That's like Steve asked me if I was going to have any ground throws, and I've got that one bullfrog throw on that one little stub switch I've got, but everything else is going to be run with tortoises because I don't want to be reaching into the layout. My big dumb hands will be tearing stuff up if I do that.
Yeah.
So the less I'm reaching into the layout, the better for me. You know, other people like the hands-on part of throwing the switches each time, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's one of the parts of the hobby that's everybody can do different.
That's kind of another thing for me. Talking about derailing locomotives and things along those lines. Anytime my hand goes into the scene, I guess it kind of takes you out of the illusion, which I still have to do because you still have to, uncouple your cars no matter what.
Yeah.
But if the train is actively moving, I would just assume my hand be nowhere near what I'm looking at, which most of the time it's not anyway. But, that's another reason why I don't want to use hand throw turnouts. I haven't decided. I don't know that I need tortoises on the next town that I'm going through because everything's real close to the table edge to where the fascia will be. I don't need them. I just haven't decided whether or not I want to go to the extra expense to go ahead and put in the tortoises, which I think I've got what I need for that town right now already. So I don't know. I haven't really decided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On that, I had to do the same thing. Do I want, if you've got a remote area that's only got one or two turnouts, do I want to power those or am I going to do them manually? And I've just decided to do everything with tortoises except for that one. And that was more of a test anyway. I mean, that was kind of a scratch built stub switch and I wasn't sure how well it was going to work, but I thought, well, I'll just put a ground throw in there because it's not going to get thrown very often. But I thought, well, there was no sense in wasting a tortoise right there for that. But everything else I'd rather have automated, at least to the point of having the touch toggle on the control panel and just moving it that way.
And I'm going to look into the touch toggles because right now I'm pointing over the wrong shoulder. All of my panels right now they're temporary. I've got ideas of what I want to do, but until I actually get the level above it put on, that's because I want all that to be one smooth fascia piece with windows. So I'm looking into my staging yard. And my fascia frames the staging yard, and the down because I'm going to have something besides angle brackets holding up the level above. So I want all of that to be one thing. I may look into the touch toggles before then. I haven't decided yet. Because the touch toggles take up much more space in a panel than the push buttons do.
Yes.
To me, that's the advantage of the push button is that they don't take up near the space in the panel that the touch toggle.
Well, you've seen mine. Now I've got the crossovers, and the thing that he came up with on the crossover is you get a 2-light toggle, a red, green, or green, whatever you want. You can get either one. And he's come up with a third add-on light that snaps right into it. So it ends up only being a little over an inch wide, I think, something like that for your crossover. And then of course on my crossovers, when I did the panel, I put them, the lines, the routes close enough together that I had to turn them on an angle, which it worked out just fine.
That was my question. Then your diagram is dictated by the size of your touch toggles, right?
Actually, no, because I made the diagram. I did it, drew it out in pencil first, and then I put that on the back of the plexiglass, and then I put the tape over the pencil lines is basically what I did. But I did not actually fit those on there until after I'd done them. which was a mistake. I should have done them the other way, and then I could have had it wide enough. But you've seen that yard panel. It's not very tall, and there's a lot of tracks in there. So it does take up some space because I got the 3-way switches and all that stuff on there. But the way his is set up, like on the freeway switch, you just hit the route that you want. You know, you don't have to have a combination of 2 switches together to get what you want. It moves it automatically. He's got a deal for a Y, you know, for a Y junction, stuff like that, where you just hit the route that you want, and it'll automatically change everything where you want it to go and set up. They work really nice. And Kevin over there at Barrett Hill is fabulous to work with. You can call him up. He'll usually call you at the end of the day when he's done working. But he'll answer any question you have, and he's fabulous to work with. So anyway, that part of it was real good. And so, because I almost gave up on him when I was having trouble, and I found out it was one of the main modules. Something in it wasn't going out. And when I figured out that's what it was, I sent it back to him, but he had me a new one before I even got mine in the mail back to him. But I called him up and told him what it was, and he had already sent it out to me.
Yeah, I think I discovered, you know, if you recall, I had a short, you know, in one of my videos, I kind of talked about it extensively, that I could never find. I think I finally decided that the whole problem was one of my stall motor drivers. One of the input outputs in that is where the problem was the entire time. Because once I got this laid back in, that short showed up again that I couldn't find. And I ended up swapping something out. I can't remember exactly what I did, but I just got rid of that whole board, got another one, and I haven't had a lick of problem since.
Yeah. Okay. I saw this just in passing, and I wasn't sure what he was asking. Now I got it up here, and he's saying he's got the turnout. He won a turnout I built to give away on the show, and and Bernard won it. So that's what he's talking about there.
Okay.
I saw that, and I thought, well, he's talking about some turnout he's got, but I didn't even see my name on it. And but that's what he's talking about. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but they do look nice if you build them right. What else did I see here?
Well, Roy said until he's got the space for a retirement railroad empire, he's going to build every switch within reach and do ground throws. But even after he has space, he's going to have it modular. That's cool, Roy.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it's you can do things, you know, however you want to do them. Now I built mine. Mine is basically a permanent layout, but once the layout comes out, I've just got screws holding stuff in. There's nothing else attached to the wall except what holds the bench work up. And those will just be screw holes into the studs. So, you know, I told my son, you can go by with some drywall mud or spackle or something and stick in there, and it's already textured. The walls, that orange peel texture. If you put that in there and smooth each hole, you could paint over that and nobody would ever see it, would ever know it was in there. So I've done very little damage to the walls. And I planned it that way so that it would be easy to take down. It'll be a mess getting out of there. You know, take a Sawzall to it and cut it up probably. You could take it down in parts, but with all the plaster and all the stuff that ends up going on top, you know, unless you go and make it in a modular to start with, that all comes off, it would be hard to do it that way.
Well, just sell the house to
I
a model railroader, then they don't have to even take it down.
Yeah, there you go. And I've seen houses for sale like that, trying to sell it to somebody like that, but that sure cuts down your market.
Yeah, I guarantee there'll be no market for that out here. I figure the next person that owns this home will probably turn this into maybe a theater room or a bunkhouse or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm also trying to not, you know, destroy the walls too much.
Okay, let's see what else we got.
Well, we got Heath in here. Good morning, Heath.
Oh no, he's here.
Hey.
Late as usual. Oh yeah, any layouts modular with a big enough sawzall. That's true. Well, you know, Don and his dad, that's what they did. They just took a sawzall to the thing and cut it, and then had to piece it back together when they got home. And it's
Fearless.
it's fabulous because they even rearranged some of the stuff. That's what's crazy. But now his dad can get down on the floor. If I was down on the floor doing as much work as his dad's done on that thing, I would never get up. There's no way.
See, that's the problem. Yeah, getting down's easy.
Yeah, yeah, getting down there's easy. It's the getting back up.
Yeah, now I understand the old commercial. I've fallen and I can't get up.
Exactly.
That is one thing I will say about my bench work that if I had it to do over, I would have thought it through just a little bit more. Crawling, I've got where the bottom of my L girders come out at is just about that much too low for the back of my shoulder blades. And so I have to, do a limbo thing. If I had it to do over, I would have gone up probably another 1 to 2 inches just so I could easily crawl under everything. So,
Almar's got a good idea. Heath, check the batteries in your clock. Maybe that's the issue why you always show up late.
oh,
Yeah.
Or is it a New York thing? Maybe that's it.
What, why he's late?
Yeah.
Oh, that could be.
Maybe it's a New York thing.
Yeah, that could definitely be. And Bernard says, I got a friend who didn't know he was a modeler. He called, said, come cut it up. Wait a minute, I got to get this up where I can read it here.
He says he's got a friend. He didn't know he was a modular.
14.
He called, said, come cut it out. And it's a 14 by 16, all DC. But the cost in finding rail and turnouts and buildings, he's excited. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
There you go. It'll take some work to get it out of there and get it back to your place, but that kind of part of it, and it'll save you a bunch, that's for sure.
Well, he says he doesn't put batteries in his. He says he puts batteries in his. Doesn't put batteries in his clocks. He just uses roosters. That wouldn't work around here because the roosters crow all day long.
I want to know how he gets a rooster in the
I
clock.
thought Heath lived in New York. You're saying Heath has roosters that wake him up?
Yeah. Is
I
that
wanna
in
know
Manhattan?
Well, I want to know how he gets the rooster in the clock.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Must be a Manhattan time zone, Al says.
Oh, I leave it to Heath to mess it up.
Roy
Anyway,
says his other game plan is modular train shows and a traveling train layout. That's cool.
yeah, the reason I didn't go modular, I think, was because I go to train shows and I'd see the N track or the T track or whatever they want to call it now. And yeah, they're cool because they're mobile, very mobile, and they can take them to the shows and plug them all together. But then you've got 3 feet or 4 feet of this scene, and then you immediately go to the next scene. And to me, that it's great for a show because you can do such a big loop and stuff, but it doesn't look like what I want on mine, especially in my home. So I didn't go that way. Didn't have any plans on removing it. And my only regret with what I've done with my layout is it's upstairs. So I have to go up and down the stairs. But if I had a basement, I'd have been up and down the basement stairs. So kind of the same thing. I could have done it out in my shop, but wouldn't have any place for all my tools.
Consider doing it in the shop, just out of curiosity, where all of your
I'd have to move all the bench tools out of there.
no place for them.
I wouldn't have any place. They'd have to go in the garage, which Brenda didn't want because that's one reason I have that. We took the mother-in-law suite and made that shop when I was still doing the airplanes. So I'd have that out there, and that was my space. I could do anything in there I wanted. And you can see you saw it. It was a mess. It still is. Ever since I got the stuff from a friend of mine that we sold and stuff, it's just been a mess. I haven't been in there really clean it up yet. So, but I wouldn't have any place for all that other stuff.
You're still giving
And
Heath a hard time.
I was still working at the time. Sorry,
Rob
Steve?
said they're still giving Heath a hard time. Rob says roosters don't like having batteries put in them. Steve Anderson says most people outside New York call the roosters pigeons. And Fred Wild is saying calling your girlfriend a rooster might not keep the girlfriend very long. Oh man, we're going downhill real fast.
Oh, Rob, I want to know why you know roosters don't like having batteries put in it.
You ever tried?
There must be some experience there. We may not want to know that story.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's always fun. Okay, Nathan's got something he's saying here. The reason why I told you modular, it's because of how limit the space, and if you have a permanent layout, you could have more detail, more space, and more of everything. That's true, you can, and it's the trade-off. What do you really want to do with your layout? Bill's got that one that he's building now, and he's gonna be able to take that to shows, and I think that's fabulous. Now, if we had a lot of shows around here, I would have done something like that. Or at least built something like your time saver and be able to take that to a show. But we've got one decent show here, and the rest of them aren't worth going to. And it's just it wasn't worth it for me to do that. So, not that it won't happen in the future, because there could be a show, or two that pop up that are close enough to go to. But I did all that traveling kind of stuff when I was flying airplanes, and it takes some time and money and everything, especially now with gas and all that stuff. So
yeah, that's no joke.
I just decided, no, I was going to be here in the house, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Nathan said, he's asking me a question. When you say you do airplanes, you mean models that don't go anywhere, or RC planes and models? RC airplanes. I was building. Most of mine were quarter scale and third scale airplanes. So pretty good size airplanes. There were World War I airplanes, which were a lot smaller than, say, World War II airplanes. So when you up it to third scale, you're talking about 110 inches wingspan. A quarter scale is about 80 inches, 80 to 88 inches, somewhere in there for a World War I plane. So they're doable. And of course they come apart, so you can take them out separate pieces. But yeah, it was RC airplanes that you fly. But I was more about the building of them than I was the flying of them.
Well, you were always saying that the airplanes is like sex, flying it gets over, real fast.
It was the building.
It's the buildup and the camaraderie.
Yeah, the building part was a lot of fun. The camaraderie with the guys at the field was a lot of fun, and for me, that was the bulk of the hobby. Because you flew for, if you went up to the field, it'd take you 30 minutes to put your plane together and get it ready to go. And then you start it up and you take it out and you fly for 5 minutes and then you land again. Now, you can come back and refuel and go out and fly again, but rarely did we do that. We'd take it out, we'd fly, bring it back over the pitch, and you set it down, you go sit down, start talking with guys again. So it was, 5 minutes here and there. And it's still an all-day thing, but you're not flying all day.
Well, unless you're that guy I saw flying one of these big RC jets. I mean, it was like a $20,000 jet, and he's flying that thing around. It's doing loops and spins, and it goes up, and all of a sudden, he's got smoke coming out the back. It goes up and then nosedives straight down in the ground. It blows up.
Yep.
So I was like, that would kill me. That would kill me.
Allie had one thing here I put up. Yeah, check out Steve's last update on his loco.
Which one? The one I did with John?
Yeah, little John.
Oh, the little slideshow? Yeah. I've got a file just on pictures that I took building this thing. I've got I think it's like 1,500 pictures on my file for this. So it was a hard time. That's just a small sampling of the photos that I took to get that slideshow, and it still ended up being like 30 minutes. But it's a silent slideshow, but it's kind of a tribute to John. He was a cool guy.
Bernard, I did the same thing. It's easier to see them, but they also fly better. The bigger the airplane, the better they fly because they fly more like a real airplane. The smaller the wingspan, or the shorter the wingspan on an RC airplane, the twitchier it is in the air. So every little movement, it really goes crazy. Now, there's ways to tone that down in your radio and stuff, but the bigger airplanes move a little slower, and so they're a little easier. For me, they were easier to fly. And then Nathan said, Nathan had something about drones here. Me and drones don't get along. Only for the fact that that's one reason I'm not flying RC airplanes anymore. The guys that came in with drones and decided to be idiots and get them up around real airplanes and stuff like that. They got the FAA involved, and now everybody flying RC airplanes, if you're doing it legally, have to have all these other things in it that you didn't used to have because the FAA wants them in there. Only because they throw a blanket over everybody. They don't go after the bad guys. They just throw a blanket like government does, and they'll throw it over the whole group. And I thought, I'm not putting up with that. So I got out of the hobby. Drones have a great use, and their best use is for photography. They've got some really good ones now, but they're such a good product now in a lot of cases on those that you don't have to know how to fly one. And that's a scary thing. Mm-hmm. That's what's wrong with them. They've got them to where they're so autonomous that if something goes wrong, you're not going to know what to do. You know, if you haven't had some kind of training in how to fly something that's line of sight. And plus they can go out of sight and come back, you know, and it's too easy to get in trouble with those. So I just kind of stepped away from all of it. And, you know, it's just me, but that's my story on it.
And you're sticking to it.
Yeah, well, maybe. Anyway, how much time we got left here? Oh, we got about 2 minutes left.
2 minutes.
Any other questions anybody's got or things you want to say?
Or suggestions for the show?
Yeah.
Or if you want to be on.
Yeah, if you want to be on, just let us know. We'll get you on here.
Or if you know somebody that wants to be on.
We'll get you on the camera and then abuse you that way.
Especially if you've got a railroad and you don't have a YouTube channel that you share it on. I would like to see some stuff I haven't seen before. That'd be cool.
Steve said, did anyone see the video of Superman flying? That's interesting because there's all kinds of stuff they've made fly. I've seen they've got a flying lawnmower. They've got a flying outhouse. That one's a good one. A flying witch on a broom. There's some really interesting stuff guys have made and then put the equipment on them to get them in the air. You can go on YouTube and see a lot of that kind of stuff. It's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, Roy, I opened the door because it was getting hot in here. Plus Gus is farting.
Oh Lord. That sounds like the end of the show right there.
Oh, and he's in the other side. He's over in the layout by the door. He doesn't even know this door's open.
Okay, guys. Well, I think we'll call it a day on that one. Thanks for showing up, and we're always glad to have you guys here. And if anybody wants to be on the show, just let us know. Don't make me come ask you.
and
just let us know. We'll get you on.
Possibly a beans tomorrow morning, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Dennis and I'll talk about that. We may be on in the morning, so you might want to look for that. And we'll be tinkering on our layouts if that's what we end up doing. But anyway, thanks for showing up, Dennis, Steve.
Yep.
You guys take care, and we'll see you guys next week.
Stay safe.
Bye.